introduce you guys to Janelle Espling and tell you a little bit about her, because I got to meet her definitely pre-pandemic, Janelle. Like, I'm trying to remember when that was, but I got to be a part of a jewel retreat. It was when you came to Northwest Arkansas, right?
Which is so crazy. Yes. I was at such a low point in my business when I met you that first time. I mean, I was like, low. I'm like, who is this woman that is
Who's
just
this
like
lady?
giving me living water?
Well, and I liked her. What stands out to me from that retreat is I didn't know that you were struggling. I knew you were hungry, and it showed, and I knew you were authentic, and I liked you right away. Like, I was like, she gets it. She gets real life stuff. I knew that you were a kindred, like, tell it like it is person, but I also knew that you wanted it. And I don't know if you guys ever meet people who kind of aren't willing to say how badly they want it. And maybe they're like protecting themselves out of fear or something, but I just knew I liked Janelle right away. And then I was I think I was spending some time with Melissa Eichenhorst, and she was talking about you, and she said, Janelle's just made a decision. Like, she's just made a decision about her business, and your business was just like taking off. And that would have been after 2020. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, just being genuinely excited and thrilled for you, and knowing that that meant that you were going to go kill it. So, okay. So I asked Janelle to be on this call, and I think what you're going to appreciate, especially if you've started tuning into those Sunday night income calls, and we just had another one last night, this is a huge portion of Janelle's brainchild, how she's working her business. So I just invited her to come and share her story, and then also share with you guys some things that are working for her, some things that are, lighting her on fire right now. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Well, I'm always super honored when another team allows me to speak to their people, because I know I'm really protective of my people. And so I know that other leaders are too. So I always consider it an honor whenever I get to talk to anybody else. This week is really special for me because I joined on a Black Friday, you guys. I joined on Black Friday 10 years ago. And so whenever Black Friday comes around, my whole team, my sideline, my upline, my downline, we all talk about it. I joined on Black Friday, and that's when my whole life changed. One, yes, to wanting to improve my health, change our family's trajectory. And here I am a decade later. And fun fact, 2 diamonds on my team launched their businesses 9 years ago on Black Friday. So I want you to know that this is such a huge deal. And you guys, I think the sale that I jumped in was like 15% off or something. It wasn't like a free reset. And somebody asked a question, do people really want to reset through the holidays? Do people really want to get healthy through the holidays? And my answer to that is yes. And you decide. Like, you decide your mindset. If you're convinced nobody will want to spend money, nobody's going to want to get healthy, that's exactly what you will find. But if you determine to find the people that are desperate for the income, that are desperate to make a change, you're going to find those people. And so Black Friday is super special to me. Speaking of the 15-minute calls on Sunday, I'm actually hosting this Sunday with Sylvia Porter and Ebony Gaitier, I think her name is. And so I'm really excited. Of course, I'm just very nostalgic around this time because it's my anniversary season. So let me tell you a little bit about my life before Plexus, and some of the really high highs and some of the really not so high highs, the normal lows of this business, and what I've learned from all of those things. So life before Plexus, I was actually a newlywed. My husband and I had only been married for 5 months. I was a new stepmom. I was serving at high capacity at my church, but my husband had just joined staff. So I was a new pastor's wife. I was a special education teacher. I taught little kids with moderate to severe disabilities. So I had a very intense job that I loved. I was not looking for something different. My husband and I, when we got married, we just knew he was going to be a pastor. I was going to be a special ed teacher, and we were just going to live on a limited budget, and we were going to figure it out. That's just what we thought what our life was. I didn't know there was another option. And so, we were kind of struggling to make ends meet. Those student loans are, no joke. And I had 2 part-time jobs after school, because that's what teachers do. They work more, if you can't make ends meet, you work more. So I was working with little babies with special needs. And then I was also working with kids that were too sick to come to school. So I was just loving everything I did, loving being in ministry, loving teaching, loving this new season that I was in. But when you're just so stretched thin, it's like you can't even enjoy any of it because you're just so exhausted, coupled with some struggle as I was having with my health. And so I was watching this acquaintance that I knew from college posting about Plexus, and I watched her for about a month and a half. She was posting all the time about Plexus, but there was something that was really compelling about what she was sharing. And fun fact, I tried to sign up one time, like on recess break. So I had 15 minutes to get my life together and sign up for Plexus. The website didn't work. And so I thought, I'm not going to do this thing. That's probably a sign that this is not for me. And I let it alone for a few weeks. But thankfully my friend had really great follow-up game. So pro tip, make sure you're on your follow-up game, because I was actually talking to another person in another company, but she never ever followed up with me. And I just think if I would have joined that person in that company, my life would not look like it looks today. So I joined Plexus Black Friday. I had no concept of network marketing. I wasn't repelled by it. I didn't really have any opinion about it. I just thought it was interesting. I hopped on a team call, probably something like this. I actually think it was an opportunity meeting at a Lexus dealership with Celeste Gwen when she was in Emerald. And the one thing that stood out to me was that she took her family of 4 on a mission trip to Africa with her one Plexus paycheck. And I was like, what? People make money like that? You can actually make money with a pink drink? What are people doing? And I had been to missions to Africa multiple times on mission trips. And so I knew how much those plane tickets cost. And I thought, well, surely if she can do it, then I can do it too. And that night I talked to my husband. I said, hey, I guess you can make money with this. And if this is real, I think it'd be really cool to be a stay-at-home mom. And I think it'd be really cool to partner with our friends in Thailand that had a home for kids that they were rescuing from the sex trade. So I think I'm going to do this. And that's what I want to do with this money. And he said, okay. And so I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have this beautiful master plan. I just did whatever my sponsor told me to do, whatever my upline told me to do. And that first month, I made $500 in the month of December. And as a teacher, to just make $500 extra when there's you don't make extra money in teaching. You don't work overtime. At least I couldn't. And that exceeded what I was making in my part-time jobs. And so I was just in. So that first year I was fast and furious, posting like crazy, tons of in-person events. I did it all while working full-time. I did it all while serving at a high capacity at church, being a new stepmom with all the nuances of all of that. I even got pregnant that year, and I promoted to Emerald 1 year later, pregnant with a vision for what this was going to do for my family. So I ranked up to Emerald. I was able to leave the classroom. We were able to move into a larger home in our city where our church is, where we knew we wanted to put our roots in and build community, closer to where our older kids' mom was, so we could increase our time with them. And I've been home with my kids for 8. My oldest of my littles is 8. So they only know me being home, which is just so crazy because that was not even an option before. And my husband and I get to serve at church, and we get to be at the church we feel called to, not where the paycheck would be larger. We get to be where we believe we're supposed to be. And so for me, it's my whole Plexus journey is right in line with my motherhood, with my marriage, with everything, because it all was all at the same time. And so that's the high, the really exciting, beautiful part. And I also want to share real life of that. This journey has not just been a straight shot up. So I ranked to Emerald, and I stayed for about 16 months at Emerald, super grateful, super happy, felt like such a bad mama jamma that I was, making this money, had my Lexus, all the things. And about 16 months in, my upline and her sponsor above her, and then my level 2, they all ranked up to Sapphire. So I'm like, it's my time. I'm in. And so I pushed really hard, told the team, we did the big countdown. Everyone was working really hard. And I ended 125 points shy that month. I was crushed. The team was so sad. And I'm like, again, next month. And at that point, my points started spiraling, going backwards. And for about 3.5 years, I maintained Emerald, which is a total blessing. But when you are at a place, and maybe some of you can relate to this, where you feel like you've been at a place for a long time, but you want more, but you're at the same place for a long time, I started to just get discouraged and lose hope and think, maybe this is my cap. Maybe I'm not going to go to the top like I thought I was. Maybe I should just be okay with right here. And I just started comparing myself. And we know that when you compare yourself amongst yourselves, it's not wise. And so for about 1.5 years, I struggled. I was on that edge of Emerald and like clawing at rank and, down to the wire every time. And the first time that I lost rank, I was devastated, like fell on the floor, like very dramatic, like a soap opera, like fell on the floor, crying, hyperventilating. And I just felt so ashamed because I just knew that I was supposed to be more, but I wasn't. And I remember like not even being able to like look at my husband in the eye and feel just like I couldn't do it. I couldn't pull it together. And I remember my husband just took my face in his hands and he said, "You did it before, you'll do it again." And I just believed him. And I think for me, what I like a little piece that I always like to share is that the reason why that hurt so bad was because I had attached my identity to my rank. And obviously, I'm a diamond in plexus. I want everybody to rank up. I want everybody to earn all the things, but we can get in so much trouble when we attach our identity to something that was not supposed to give us identity. And it can force us into this place of desperation, and it messes up our posture and how we approach things. And so I just want to say that is something that I have had to work through, and I'm not attached to my rank anymore. I am attached because I love, I like all the things, all the perks. But while I'm telling you all this, because I want you to move forward in your business, I want you to also know that your identity is not tied to your points and what it says in the back office. So with all that said, I want to share just a few things that helped me go from Emerald to Sapphire. And you guys, it took me 5 years to go Emerald to Sapphire. And then it took me 1 year to go Sapphire to Diamond. So you can see that something changed in that time. And for me, I never stopped working. Like I've never yo-yoed in working. I've always just stayed the course, stayed consistent. But I will admit that I've lost sight of my personal vision for my business and lost sight of my personal goals and dreams. And I know that in my inability to press through and do that, it affected my team. And so I'm just going to share a couple of things. It's probably things you've heard Becky say 1,000,000 times, but I'll just package it a little differently and maybe it'll hit a little different. But I want to encourage you to recreate and revisit your vision. If your vision is not inspiring you to get out of your comfort zone and do the things you know that are going to move the needle forward, then you probably either don't believe that it's possible or you don't have a big enough vision. And so people will always say, the team that gets you to Emerald, I don't know why I get balloons. I don't, you guys, this is like something that has been really annoying for the last month. Randomly, I'm on Zooms and just balloons happen. I don't know why. I'm like, what setting do I have on my computer that balloons happen? It's like not even at like the appropriate time for balloons to be popping up on my screen. Anyway, so they say, the team that gets you to Sapphire is not the same team that will get you to Emerald, is not the same team that will get you to Sapphire. And I'll say the vision that got you to the rank that you're at now is probably not the same vision that's going to get you to the next place you want to go. And so it's probably time to have a real heart-to-heart with yourself about what you really desire and then the dreams that God has given you only. Like your path is for you only. The struggles that you work through is for you only. And the vision that God has given for you is for you only. And you are responsible for that. And so it might be time for you to revisit that and recreate the vision that will want you to run towards it. Another thing I'll encourage you is like, keep showing up. You guys are all on this call. Keep showing up to calls, keep showing up to events because it's your sustenance. Like you need that for the journey. You'll never get to a place where you're like, I've been to Super Saturday before. I've been on these leaders calls before. It's like saying like, I've been to church before. I've been to the gym before. Like, it's not enough to just do it a few times or for even a few years. It's your sustenance that you need. Number 3 is that, keep growing and showing up for yourself. Even when things don't look like they're moving forward, it's never in vain. God wastes nothing. So if you are showing up for yourself, like maybe nobody's joining me, I'm going to keep showing up for myself. Maybe I don't have a big team behind me. I'm going to keep learning how to be a leader. I'm going to keep showing up and keep growing and keep learning, because those are the things that are going to help you in this season when you are. You don't always learn the things when things are fast and momentum. You may have learned it in the season before and you didn't know the momentum was going to come next month or in 2 months or in 3 months. Another thing that I learned, number 4, I have 6. I'm almost done, I promise. Number 4 is take massive, massive ownership and link arms with others that are doing the same. I shared that me and my husband were in ministry. We are not the senior pastors. We never want to be the senior pastors. We're fine not being the senior pastors. We're okay to be number 2. And I carried that into my Plexus business. Like, I didn't need to be the leader up front and center. I don't need to be the main one making the decisions. And I think that's fine. And I also think that allowed me to always or that put me in a position where I never felt confident to just say, this is where we're going, team. This is what we're doing. This is the verbiage we're using, and just move without having to say, you guys think this is okay? Do you think this is a good idea? Should we move? And just take ownership that this is my team. This is the team that God has given me. And so I am going to just move forward with whatever I feel is right for my team, and link arms with others that are also taking massive ownership. I think it can get really hard when you're always in lots of chats with people that are crybabies, just wham people. I'm like, I need to be in chats with people that are owning their business, that want to move forward, that we're going to be mutually encouraged by. And so link arms with those people. And maybe they're in your downline, maybe they're in your sideline, maybe they're in your upline. They might not always be exactly positioned, but link arms with those people. Number 5, I would say, invite your shareholders to the process. I told you in the beginning, I told my husband what I wanted this to be. So he knew that this wasn't something that I just wanted to earn like a few $100s. And if you just want to earn a few $100s, that's totally awesome and fine. Plexus is a beautiful place to do that. For me, I wanted to replace my income. So that meant a different level of commitment and a different amount of time that it was going to require. There had been seasons where I'd tell my kids, like, look, mom is working real hard for this. And so I'm not going to be as available, but when this is done, I'm taking you to Disneyland. Or at the end of the month, I used to, on the first of the month, take my kids to like breakfast, because I knew the couple days prior, I was going to be working a lot. Like, breakfast is our day and we're going to spend the day together. Mommy's going to be totally unplugged. So they knew it wasn't a surprise. They understand how this works. And in this season, when I went Sapphire, our team would pray together. We had an alarm, like 10 a.m. every day. Everyone just stopped and prayed. And me and my girls, I had my 3-year-old on my hip and my 5-year-old by the hand. And we would turn on a worship song and we'd worship and we'd pray for our team by name. So my kids are like, they know Team Legacy. Like, they know the leaders. When they hear the Marco Polos or whatever go off, they're like, is that Georgia's mommy? Because they can hear different accents from people that's on my team. Is that so-and-so? And so allow your family to be part of it. And then the last tip, which I feel like was the absolute game changer for me, was show up like the rank you want to be. When I was a Sapphire, it was about 4 or 5 months before I ranked Diamond. I was so frustrated. And I just said, you know what? I am a Diamond and I'm going to show up every day the way a Diamond would. And I'm going to do that until my back office matches who I am already. And so every day I would map out my calendar. How would a Diamond work? What would a Diamond's calendar look like? How would I show up today if I was a successful Diamond? And I showed up like that. And so when I ranked Diamond, it was obviously the biggest thing ever, but it already felt like I was aligned because I had already owned that I was a Diamond. So those are a few things that have helped me on my journey. I know it's probably things you've all heard before, but it's all been super foundational for me. So I'll pass it back to you, Becky.
I love that. I love it. Okay. I have questions, but I also want to reserve it. Let me open it up if you've got some time, Janelle. Who has a question for Janelle? Because she shared some things that I think probably have hit you guys at almost every single rank. And I'm curious what questions come up for you. Okay, let me ask mine then while you guys are thinking. Talk to me about vision. Like that's the one that's been the word that's been coming up for me a lot since convention. I think I listened to Fallon talk on vision and I thought, I think it might have been Fallon and Brittany. And I was like, I feel like this is an issue. So tell me, when you talk about revisiting vision and the fact that it's for us, like it's for me only, what does it look like when you go revisit your vision?
Yeah, I actually I recommend a book called The Vision Driven Leader. It's really, really great, all about vision. I did a training on this at Super Saturday, well, right around Super Saturday for our team. But vision, if you think about it, how many of us we spin our wheels, right? You're just doing all the activity, you're doing everything you know to do, and you're kind of stuck. And it's probably because you just don't have direction. And I'm not saying those things are bad, it's fine. But if you're not happy with where you are, if you're not moving where you want to go, you probably don't have a vision for where you want to take your business. And so revisiting that vision, I mean, I shared my vision for when I started Plexus was to be able to be a stay-at-home mom, and then was to be able to fund this home in Thailand, which we did alongside many, many other Plexus ambassadors. We rescued many kids and taken care of them in Thailand. But when that's done, then what? Like of course I wanted to be a diamond. Who doesn't want to be a diamond? Of course I wanted to be a sapphire, but my vision was like, check, check, done. So I had nothing to like, I mean, I wanted more, but I didn't really want more, if that makes sense. So I had to come back to like, what could the next level of leadership, what could the next level of income mean for our family? And so I had to have a real heart to heart with myself. And sometimes like, you don't want to dream that big because it's scary and maybe you don't believe in yourself, or maybe you just know it's going to require more of you and you don't want to admit that that vision is that big. And so for me, I had to come to a place where like, it was financial, but also like I wanted more influence, to be honest. Like I wanted to make a larger impact in the Plexus community for just things that I believe are really important, like diversity and things like that. That's really important to me. And I know that if I don't move forward, I don't get to have that level of influence. So just certain things like that I had to actually be okay to articulate and then say, okay, God, you've given this to me. So I'm going to own it and be responsible for what you've given me in my heart.
And then talk to me about what kind of action is your team taking? You guys have started utilizing the 15-minute Sunday night income calls, what, about a month ago? Or have you guys been doing it longer?
It was like August. It was right before Mexico because I did one when we were in Mexico. So it was like end of August we started.
What has that looked like for your team, especially the creation of new silvers?
So, you know, what's so funny? I do think it takes a while for people to actually utilize it as a system. And here's what I know is that if we don't have clean and clear systems, it's really hard for people to do this. We should be able to create silvers up to gold without having lots and lots and lots of skill. So we had to create a system that people could easily tap into. Now, I'll be honest and say a lot of my people don't use it, because they're just used to doing things as they know how to do them. So I really think that it's for especially new people. Us older people have to get in the groove of being in it and plug in our new people, because then when the new people see that's how you do it, then they know that's just how you do it. There's no other way to do it. You invite to the Sunday call, you do the chat, rinse, wash, repeat. Exactly. So I think for the newer people, it's just such a plug and play system. Like they don't have to know all the answers because all the answers are given to them. They just have to invite.
And it's short. I think one of the things I've really liked about it is, about every 6 months, we have to look at our systems and go, okay, what is working, what's not working, and how do we pivot in a way that's going to meet the needs of the people that we're going after. And I love the fact that you guys, like you say, it's simple. It's every Sunday night. You're hosting this coming Sunday night, which is a great time. People have gotten home from their traveling. Well, they're already thinking about the holidays. Black Friday specials are everywhere. So the idea of, hey, I can help you make $300 to $500 next week is high on their minds, right? But I like what you said. It's partly just, and you said this when you talked about massive ownership, that you were fine, like being on a team, being a team player. I'd so relate to that. And that something in you was like, no, I'm going to have to decide this for my team. And I think that matters at the gold, senior gold, ruby level too, to go, for me and my team, we're going to start to do this Sunday night calls. It's new. But like, you don't take ownership until you get on and start doing that stuff. It's really hard to tell people what to do if you don't own the system, right?
Yeah. And I think one thing that I've noticed on my team, we have rubies, senior golds that have been at the same rank for a long time because they haven't mastered duplication.
Okay,
and they're really good at signing people. So they don't need Sunday night calls to sign people. They could sign people like that, but their teams can't. And they're not duplicating, and therefore they're not going where they want to go. And so this is the system that we're honing in over and over, saying like, look, you could sign people, but your teams can't. So you need to help your teams have a system so that they're plugging their people into that's duplicatable, that doesn't require you to be hours and hours and hours every single day with your people. So it is retraining some people that are really good at certain things, say like, that's great, but your people need the system. Like, you need the duplication.
I love it. So this Sunday you're hosting, and what would you say to someone this week who, hears about the Black Friday special? They join with one of the discounts because they wanted a free reset. And like, what is the language that you're using with the new VIP this week?
Oh, that's a great question. The language that I've been using, actually I have it. I think just off the top of my head, it's something like, hey, I know we haven't talked about this before, but Plexus is doubling business building bonuses, and you can make about $400 by helping 3 friends also get a free reset, just like you did. What are your thoughts on learning a little bit more? I mean, just something so simple. And then, for those that maybe you've talked to before, you can share, we'll have the graphic shortly. I'm going to send it to get created today. But Sylvia was an attorney. Ebony is a chemical engineer. I was a special ed teacher. It's going to be a diverse group of women. And I started on a Black Friday. So those are all like great talking points. When we get the graphic, I'll make sure to share it. So leveraging any of those, if any of those things relate to any of the people that you talk to.
Well, that's health testimonies. Ebony's she's a cancer survivor. I think she's already won Punta Cana. I mean, that's going to be a fun call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
and
guys.
It will make a lot, it will mean a lot for those of you that have people like that are Hispanic, Black,
Yes.
Diverse, to see people that look like them on the call.
That's a good reminder. Okay. Who else has a question? Christy, just go ahead and unmute.
I have a question. So the process of you going backwards and getting really, well, hold on, let me start with this. I can relate so much to you. I'm a pastor's wife, and I've said a million times, part of my dream is to be with a church because God has called us there, not because of a paycheck. We're actually stepped away from that right now just to see where God is calling us. So I used to work in special education, like we could be friends.
So you're my people.
Yes. So you got to Emerald and all the thing, you felt like you're the mama jama, and then you start going back. How did you dig yourself? Because I'm assuming that affected your belief. So how did you get your belief to where it was and keep pushing forward? Because you have to have belief with vision.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really, really great question. I think for a while I was okay. But when I started going backwards and started the panic of the income started to set in, I think that was when it got really hard. And honestly, it's like so simple, but like not isolating yourself. That's like the enemy's like most basic tactic, right? And I think that applies in like your goals and dreams too. So continuing to come to events, even I remember coming to like one convention feeling like everybody knew, nobody knows everybody's concerned with their own self. Like nobody cares about you, but just feeling like embarrassed. Nobody knew my points. I knew my points. And so if I let that stop me from going to convention that year, I remember they talked about like imposter syndrome, and it was like everything I needed to hear. But if I had let my own self get in the way, then I wouldn't have received what I needed for the next leg of my journey. So I think continuing to show up to calls like this, to Plexus events, it just sounds so simple. But I mean, that's like why we have church, right? Like that's why we meet other people. That's why we gather as moms, because we need it. Like we need community. We were built for community. So I think continuing to be in community and around others that want it too, like that are working for it. Like I said, linking arms with others that are also going to take ownership and move forward too, because then that inspires you. Like I think I'm most inspired when I see someone that's been around for a while and I'm like, dang, she's been around as long as me. And she just legit she just created that. I mean, so if she can do it, I can. I've seen like, I mean, we talk about Brenda Martin. I'm like, Brenda Martin just literally built that Instagram account. Like what? How? Okay, well, if she could do it, I could do it, you know? And so just continuing to surround yourself with others that allow yourself permission to dream for yourself too.
So good. And I will say my favorite people to hear. I love hearing from everyone, obviously. I love hearing from people who are brand new and just are in Punta Cana. I'm like, tell me, what are you doing? How'd you find, who found you? But I love talking to people who've been around for a while and had a breakthrough. That's one of my favorite things ever, is the old timers who had a breakthrough and the Lord shifted something and something clicked and they started, getting uncomfortable and made headway. Those are my favorite stories. So I'm with you.
And I think like my husband just wrote a book called This is How I Fight My Battles. And he was just saying kind of what I said earlier, your battle is yours, my battle is mine, and I don't know all the reasons why, and sometimes it's because you have not done what you know to do in Plexus. Sometimes it's because of that, because you are not sharing the business and you're not sharing the business. Sometimes it's because you are not, faithful in this area and that. And sometimes it's just like, it's just not your time for whatever reason. And I don't know, and like sometimes when I'm like, I really feel like this person is so faithful, I don't know why they're not moving forward, but you don't know what is working in the insides of their hearts and in their life, that for whatever reason, that just hasn't been a release yet. So I think most of the time it's because we're not doing the work and we're not, learning the skills, but sometimes it's like, you just don't know what is happening in the rest of their heart and life.
It's a good word. Who else has a question?
Hey there. I know that you mentioned multiple kids and doing all the things. How do you let your day not take over your Plexus? Like sometimes I have great intentions. I have things lined out and then, there'll be a sick kid or I have to go to pick up somebody or different things. And then I feel like I don't always get back into it. So how do you keep it a priority? And make sure you're is it just you're keeping it honoring yourself? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great forever, ever question that we always have to, because seasons change, right? Like it looked so different when I had babies and I was like nursing all day long and couldn't get up from the couch. So the way I worked then, I couldn't get up earlier in the morning because I wasn't sleeping through the night and I was just waking up with the kid. Whereas now my kids are a little bit bigger, so I can do that. Like I can get up and work out and I can do certain things on my checklist for my business before the kids wake up. And so now in this season, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier than when they were babies. And when they were babies, I had to figure out what I could do while I was nursing. What could I do from my phone while I'm nursing? And what can I do when they're like a little bit occupied? But now I can wake up earlier. So for me, normally it's waking up earlier and actually like blocking out the time for work. My kids only know Plexus life. Like they only know mommy working at home. So they understand mommy is working right now. And I tell them like, mommy is working, like mommy works to pay for our house, to pay for our toy. Like They understand like, this is not just, I'm on my phone. And then also being, which is hard for me, is to then put my phone down when I'm done working. So then I'm like fully present with them and not on my phone. So, I think you have to be in integrity with yourself and your business. And I feel like sometimes it's so easy to just like, motherhood is obviously priority for me, but I also have been given a business that I've been entrusted with that I have to take care of as well. And it's my job. Like it's my job. It's not just like something I do because I'm bored. It's our income. And if I was a teacher, I would get up and I would go to work and I would not think about it because that is my job. So I feel like really, again, taking ownership of what it is for you in your life.
And you talk about seasons, right? Like, I know, Erin, you're in a season where your kids are older, but older kids also mean sports schedules and those kind of things too. You know, it's different from the baby schedule. I love you mentioning the shareholders. I think that so often, like my kids, literally while we've been having this call, my youngest just broke a really special Christmas thing from my grandmother who is gone. And I'm like, and they know like mom's on a call, but that's something that they're used to. And I don't feel guilt about that because I'm like, it's what enables me to do all the things that if I had my old job as a therapist, I wouldn't be able to come to anything. I wouldn't be, this would be the week that there'd be a nanny at my house watching my kids while I was away in my office. So those conversations with the shareholders that's so good. And I would say too, utilizing your time is so important. I find that the time wasters are really the things that make me think I'm working my business when I'm actually not. So honing in on how to utilize your time well in different seasons is really key. And actually, I think, so Janelle and I are both in this class right now that's, I don't know, Janelle, you and I have not talked privately about this. It's kicking my butt. It's kicking my butt. Rhonda's in it too. It's a recruiting course. It's a lot. It's pushing me. Which is what I've needed. I have needed to like really have to hone in on the stuff I don't want to do, the stuff that I'm avoiding, that's keeping me from really lifting my leadership lid. And I don't know, it's like really on. I'm like, God, I've got to catch up. I've got to get these messages done. I've got to do the hardest thing first is kind of what I've been trying to utilize is, okay, this is the thing I don't want to do. So it's what I have to do first to get it out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to ownership, and it's not to say it's easy. Like you're choosing something that's harder. I don't want to say that. It's hard when you have a family and you want to prioritize your family, and that is what you should do. And also bring in an income. It's hard. It's not, if it was easy, everybody would do it, but it's possible. It's possible. And I think what you said, that the time wasters is a big thing that I had to realize, like, why am I spending? I can make a graphic, you guys. It will take me like an hour because I just overthink. And it's like not even like the cutest graphic ever. It's all right. But I'm like, why am I doing this? Like somebody needs to make this graphic because they'll do it in 5 minutes. It might not be my favorite graphic, but it's done. So just like letting go of those things. That's like, why am I spending? I could have spent an hour doing something more effective, Yeah.
Okay. Any last questions before we let Janelle go on this holiday week?
Janelle, you were saying about that you pray together. Is that every morning or how does that work? I love
We
that.
haven't done it in so long, but there was a season, and actually Susie's on my call. I don't know if she is still on, but we would have just an alarm. And we wouldn't hop on Zoom. There's Susie. She's on my team. She was a Ruby on my team. We would all have an alarm on our phone. And it's not like we would hop on Zoom. It was just like, stop everything. And we're praying for each other right now. We're praying for our business and praying for our team. And I think Susie probably still has the alarm on. Susie has all prayer alarms. She has like alarms all day for praying. Like she says, yes. So yeah, I mean, it was, and not everybody on my team, prays, and that's fine, but we would just say anybody that wants to, this is what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. I really love that. I'd love to implement that. I don't, in between the holidays and stuff. Have you done a lot of gratitude journaling and that kind of stuff to get you from point A to B to C? Do you recommend that?
I haven't, but that is a great idea. I feel like I intentionally talk about gratitude and make sure that's part of just like everyday living, but I haven't done gratitude journaling. I think that's a great idea though.
Okay, my friend, thank you so much. Thanks for being willing to hop on this morning. I really appreciate you. I love your challenges. And I'm really excited to hear from you on Sunday night. That makes me pumped to know that you're going to be doing it, because I've got multiple people that I want to get on this Sunday night. By the way, before I let this call go, want to remind you guys that we've got details about what you need to be doing to make sure your reset carts are going to register as a free reset. So make sure you go look at that. Please go into the app and look at the double Punta Cana credits. And then honestly, as a reminder, just keep showing up. And remind your new people, it's not a post once and done. It's like you're building credibility each time you keep your shop door open this week. And this is without a doubt one of the best times to have these conversations. So whoever you don't hear from today, you're posting tomorrow, the next day, because it takes people 7 to 12, just even seeing in your stories the idea that you're actually serious about this. Okay. So keep it up. Please encouraging your people to keep it up as well. And Janelle, thank you. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving to all of y'all, and we will see you back here next week, same time. Bye, guys.